Please take your seats. The meeting is about to begin. Remember to speak into the microphone, as this meeting is being recorded for public record. Please stand by. We are going on air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody. This is Commissioner Laura Dominguez, and we're having our Public Safety and Neighborhood Quality of Life Committee meeting today. And I'm joined by the mayor. We'll be hearing his items shortly. But we also have the fabulous Stephanie Ray Brooks, Assistant City Manager Mark Texas, Deputy City Attorney Rob Rosenwald, and committee members Joe Magazine, and very soon we will also have Commissioner David Suarez and Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez. Any announcements today, Stephanie?
Hi, yes. Our meeting today is a hybrid meeting. You could join by Zoom or dialing in at 312-626-6799 or 888-475-4499. Today we have two items that are deferred. Item number 18, discuss the creation of incentives to establish Miami Beach as a local hub for World Cup, as well as number 8, which is discuss the expanding of the capabilities of public safety communications divisions to support calls regarding suspected human trafficking in the city of Miami Beach. And we have the mayor joining us, and we can start whenever you're ready.
Wonderful. So we will start with item number 12, and Mayor Minor, I'll let you kick it off.
Thank you so much for taking my items first. Yeah, so this item is to discuss the potential removal of bulb outs. There are many throughout the city. I had done a walk with our police and transportation department months ago on 41st Street, where there was a couple of blocks where you could see where if you remove the bulb out, you could add another lane of traffic. Probably have to remove maybe 1 or 2 spots. So I'll let you take it away, but I know this was a big, I don't want to use the word fad, but a little bit several years ago. And but I think it was done for pedestrian safety, but it's I think at this point it's causing a lot of traffic problems. Just to give the quick example, and I know I'm probably stating the obvious, but you're driving down the street, there's one lane. If one car is turning left, then it holds up everybody. And if you have the second lane, obviously it would allow cars to either turn left, go straight, or turn right.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Mayor and board members. O'Neill Rodriguez for the record, Assistant Director with the Transportation and Mobility Department. As you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, yes, the city right now, we're doing a traffic study to evaluate the feasibility of incorporating a dedicated left turning lane on the side streets along the 41st Street corridor, more specifically Chase Avenue, Sheridan, Royal Palm, and Prairie Avenue. Right now, based on the preliminary data that we have collected, the first step that we have to do is if we have enough, if it warrants to have a dedicated left turn on those side streets. Based on the preliminary analysis that we have received, it does warrant having those dedicated left turn lanes. Now, the next step of that traffic study.
I know you have to do this study, but I would have saved you the trouble.
Yes, well, we do have to partner with FDOT and DTPW, and this is part of the process that we would have to go through. Now, the next step is to see how we can incorporate those and what is required, and like you mentioned, potentially removing bulb outs. However, we believe that we are able to accommodate, at least on a few of them, incorporate that dedicated left turn without having to remove the bulb outs. So that's a positive for us. That way it reduces the cost of the infrastructure work that would need to take place. Now, we anticipate.
How many of those would you say?
Excuse me?
Do we actually have a number of how many bulb outs there are in the city?
Citywide, it's hard to say. I know the bulb outs are primarily installed in areas to enhance the pedestrian crossing experience. Something to add is that where you have bulb outs, is often in areas where there cannot be any parking regardless. But as far as citywide, we don't have a number on the top of my head of how many bulb outs we have.
And are you making that assessment as well? I mean, there could be situations where there's a significant increase in pedestrian safety from a bulb out, so I recognize that. Is that something you're assessing as well?
That is something that we're assessing as well as part of the analysis, again, throughout the 41st Street corridor.
Okay. Well, and again, it's not just 41st Street, it's it's other areas as well. This item is not specific to 41st Street.
Correct. When we created this item, since we're already working on the 41st Street corridor, since it's one of those areas where there's a lot of congestion, especially in the PM peak hours, we tailored this particular item for that. But if we want to assess the bulb outs throughout the city, that's definitely something that we could potentially explore to see how, I know we did have a walkthrough in North Beach in which we looked for areas in which we can remove potential bulb outs in order to increase the number of parking spaces. Based on that walkthrough and the different corridors that we did take.
Wait, I'm sorry, to remove the bulb outs to increase parking?
Parking in the North Beach area.
Okay.
Correct. What we did see when we were doing that walkthrough is the bulb outs that we currently have in the North Beach area, even if you remove those bulb outs, you would not be able to install a parking space because there's certain clearances and distances that you need to be away from the intersection per standards. So even if the bulb out is removed, a parking space may not be able to go in place of the bulb out just because of the clearances and the distances that must be kept. Also, something that we did see is that the potential removal of the bulb outs may also necessitate the removal of trees that are currently in place within those bulb outs. So that's always something that we would need to consider as well.
I have a question to ask. You mentioned that there are standards. Are those city standards, county, state? What are the standards?
The city has standards as part of the public works manual. The county also has standards that we must follow, and the state. So it depends on what the quarter that we're talking about. If it's FDOT right away, we must abide by FDOT standards. But there's county and city standards. Yes.
I have noticed in a lot of places where the bulb outs, and I did notice that in North Beach, and sometimes on 41st Street, where they're unusually large and taking up a lot of space. And for the pedestrian safety, you have the signs on either end indicating when somebody should cross or not. And in an effort to gain more space, since we're making so many changes, particularly in North Beach on parking, I want to make sure that if a bulb out can be safely removed, I'm
Will do.
100%.
Thank you.
So what's next steps?
So right now, we're anticipating getting a draft report in January of 2025.
Who's drafting that?
A consultant procured by the city. We're working with on a rotation of consultants to evaluate. That draft report is also looking at the existing mass storms because incorporating a new left turning lane would also require changing the signal heads to allow for that protected left turn lane. So we're looking at to see if the existing mass storms have enough capacity or, there's the structural analysis that needs to be done to see if you can add an additional signal head for that turn lane. So that draft report in January will tell us what will be required in order to incorporate those dedicated left turn lanes.
Yeah, I'm not adverse to that left turn signal, but I'm curious why that's necessary. I mean, the way you made it sound like it has to be, because right now the cars make left turns. There's no left turn dedicated signal. It just allows cars to go one way or the other.
So right now you have what it's called a permissive left. What that means is that a vehicle can make a left turn as long as there's a break in the traffic. What this would have is part of the signal cycle will provide that protected left turn lane to allow to go without the oncoming traffic. So it's going to allow those vehicles that do want to make that left to go without the oncoming traffic and be able to flush the traffic faster.
Okay, and that's going to require working with the county and the state?
That's going to require working with the county for the operational analysis, with the state, since the state owns the traffic signals. So there's a lot of coordination amongst all three agencies.
And the draft report you mentioned from the consultant, is that going to incorporate just Mid-Beach or the entire city?
Right now, it's only on 41st Street, so the Middle Beach area. In other areas where we feel or we can determine that it's feasible, you know, from a city standpoint to add additional turn lanes by removing the bulb outs, that's something that we could potentially incorporate as part of a future study. However, always funding is the question for those studies.
Funding for the consultant?
To engage the consultant to continue to do any additional studies or even enhancing the scope of work.
I think
Commissioner
Chair, if I could.
Magazine.
Is this going to be a one-size-fits-all approach across the entire area? So I recognize the need where perhaps in North Beach and on 41st Street where these are counterproductive, but I do think that, and I'm going to be looking to bring items to actually through better street planning and urban planning to mitigate traffic, right? Or at least the high speed of traffic. And part of that is, you know, shrinking laneways and things like that. So while this may be feasible on 41st Street or in North Beach, I look at areas like where I live on West Avenue, and I brought it up in the finance meeting, there was just a bad accident this week. We have 5 lanes of traffic across. We have a turning lane
I'll be honest.
on West Avenue. And there's zero need for it. The only reason that it basically is used right now is for cars passing. So I guess simplistically, are we going to have nuance and balance looking at these in specific areas? Or are you going to come back with one recommendation that kind of applies citywide?
It wouldn't be necessarily a recommendation that fits, you know, citywide. These are looked at on a case-by-case basis. For example, we are looking at 41st Street separately and alone. If we were to look at West Avenue, that would be a separate, because there's different considerations to take into account.
Okay, I think that's just what I wanted to ensure is you're looking at things on a case-by-case basis. That'll come back to us and we'll essentially have time to analyze that.
Correct.
Can we bring this back in January?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Stephanie. Public comment?
All right, and we have Matthew Goltanov with public comment. Matthew, you have 2 minutes. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, good morning, Mayor, Commissioners. I want to thank the Mayor for bringing this item forward. While the city administration did previously recommend against elimination of bulb outs, this is a really important topic. We all know that mobility is something on the top of everyone's mind, and so is pedestrian safety. I do want to know whether or not this has been talked about with members of the community and various stakeholders, including the 41st Street bid. I know there's a really large capital project about to get underway. That actually includes enhancing the bulb outs and making them even safer for people to walk. This is a very walkable neighborhood. If you go on the weekends, there are many families and children that cross 41st Street. There's an elementary school on 41st Street. While I would be very much opposed to this, and I would urge you all to look at other items instead of removing bulb outs, I do hope that serious consideration is given and that there is pretty robust stakeholder engagement on this before any action's taken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just to
O'Neill.
clarify, on the comment, we anticipate not having to remove bulb outs in order to include an additional left turning lane. So just wanted to make that very clear. At least a few of the intersections that we're looking into, not having to remove bulb outs to include the left turning lane. If for whatever reason the right of way is not there, that would be part of the recommendation. But our first and foremost approach is to look at how we can incorporate the left turning lane without having to remove the bulb outs, to make sure that the pedestrian safety remains in place.
Sorry, there's a lot of talking in the back. I honestly couldn't. Can you repeat some of what you said? I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Just that we're trying as much as possible to not have to remove the bulb outs in order to incorporate the left turning lanes.
Great.
All right, thank you. So bring it back in January, and with that, we'll go to number 10.
Okay, item number 10 is discuss enhancing public transportation on accessibility and efficiency at senior centers with a dedicated mid-size bus service. This will be a transportation item sponsored by the mayor.
Yes, so the thinking here is one of the issues we hear from our seniors, and when you visit the seniors, is transportation. It's difficult even with the trolley system, and the thought is to have a dedicated mid-sized bus that can have dedicated trips to the bank, to grocery store, basically necessities. And kind of the ideas also from, and it, like if you go to like a Century Village up in further up in north in West Palm Beach and Broward, they have those bus services that take the senior community to handle their basically daily necessities. So I wanted to update on that and what's the feasibility. Obviously, there's budgetary issues, and just wanted to see how we can get this moving forward.
Yes, again, O'Neill Rodriguez, Assistant Director with the Transportation and Mobility Department. As the mayor mentioned, this is an ask that has come from many of our seniors. We did wanted to get some clarification from this body to see, to further, come up with a plan of how this new service would work. Right now, we do have the freebie for senior service, which is provided to all the senior facilities in our city. And the way that that service works at this time, is that if you are registered in any of the senior programs or living in a senior facility, then you could pretty much order a freebie. It'll pick you up at your house. And it'll take you either to the nearest pharmacy or Publix. From our understanding, the ask is to further enhance or to have a separate service that will take you to other areas in the city. Again, like you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, there's budgetary constraints. However, in order for us to be able to develop a plan, we wanted to know how is the service going to work? Would it be for every senior facility? Right now in the city, we have about 40 senior facilities. Would it be on a fixed route service? Will it be on-demand service? We recently started our new, what we're calling the Mount Sinai Link, which is a fixed route service, which is, as it was mentioned, a mid-sized van operating 7 days a week from 7 to 8 p.m., and that annual cost is about $245,000. And that is 7 days a week again from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Now, if we wanted, this is to give us more of a cost analysis and a basis to understand how much the vehicle would cost. However, how the plan or the service would work, this is what we would like some direction on, so that way we could potentially come back with a more defined plan.
Sure. Well, you mentioned 40 senior facilities, but for example, when we do the quarterly senior event at the convention center, we have buses helping bring the seniors. We don't, my understanding, it's not 40 different facilities we're bringing people from. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think we can identify probably using that as a gauge.
So when I mentioned 40 senior facilities, I'm referencing the 40 senior facilities that right now are eligible to participate as part of the freebie on-demand senior service.
Right. Well, obviously, 40 is not going to be reasonable. We'll get the number to some identifiable
Correct,
number.
and that's for the direction.
In the single digits.
Yeah.
And Mayor, I had a question. So when you were thinking of expanding, was it more than just Publix and doctor's offices? Because one thing that came to mind when O'Neill was talking was maybe Lincoln Road being another option.
Yeah, and I'm open. That's why I wanted to bring it to committee to hear suggestions. Doctor's visits could be more difficult because that's a one-off. If it's a hospital facility, that's one thing. But if you're talking about specific doctor's offices, that could be the purpose of the bus is to take a group and basically say, okay, we get here at 10 o'clock, we pick you up, you're here at 10:15. By 11 o'clock, we're gonna head out.
Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez.
I would like to point out to everyone up here that one of the reasons that we're having this challenge, especially with the seniors, is because the county, which has been in charge of our transportation traditionally, year over year, has reduced our funds, reduced our budget, cut our bus routes, and seniors can no longer easily get to where they need to go. So, while they're claiming that we're not contributing to the homeless, they are completely cutting us back in terms of transit. And we've heard this because we go to the large senior centers like Rebecca Towers, and they tell us, We can't get to downtown anymore. We no longer have, a service that takes us where we need to go. So, I mean, what county bus service did they cut off at Rebecca Towers? Because the most complaints that I get happen to be, that bus stop by Rebecca Towers, and they say that they no longer have the service. I mean, I have also actually had complaints at Collins and 86th. But we should also do a deep dive. How many dollars has the county cut from us in transit over the past 10 years? How many bus routes have they cut from us in the past 10 years? And when we go to them now for this big negotiation over the homeless, we should say to them, if you're going to cut our transit, if we're going to contribute to the homeless cause, well, then stop cutting our transit in other areas. So I think if you're coming back with answers, I would also like those numbers. Like, what have they cut? What are the routes? And how does that affect the people at Rebecca Towers? Because those are the people using the routes. Really, it's our senior population.
I'll make another comment on that. So last year, when the county made a bunch of changes to the bus routes, so many residents in West Avenue who are seniors, but not all of them have cars and they live on their own, not in a low-income housing. They now, if they wanted to go to Mount Sinai, had to walk to Washington Avenue, which is not close from West Avenue, in order to get a bus. I will say a couple weeks ago, the county did bring back a MetroLink bus that will eventually turn into a regular bus. And it stops on Alton. There's 5 stops in total, and it goes to Mount Sinai. And I got a text on Friday from 2 seniors that took it that live on West Avenue, and they love it. So there is room for improvement. I'll send you some more feedback that this resident shared with me so that you could work with the county. But there has been a little progress made.
And if you want to know where they're complaining the most, I would definitely say Rebecca Towers and then once again, Council Towers at 86th. I know that both of those places, they wanted on-demand freebie. I don't know that they have the on-demand freebie up there, do they?
Well, when the Route 115 was discontinued, we were able to expand our Mid-Beach free on-demand freebie service to the North Beach area. I would have to see where Council Tower is. I don't know out of the top of my head where it's at, but we could see if that is part of the geographic area that was expanded or what options we have.
Okay, so this wasn't about normal bus service. This was just about like parks taking the seniors to places, to like field trips?
The item?
Yeah.
Oh, no, the item, well, it's more than just field trips. It's necessities.
Yeah.
Going to Publix or grocery stores, to the bank. I mean, this is the issues, I'm sure you hear it too. This is the issues they say they have difficulty getting to these places. We thought it would be, here, you take a bus, get a group to go. It's efficient, and
They need to be able to get to the doctor, and they also need to be able to get to Walmart. All of them.
yeah.
That's the big ask.
So, and this is exactly what we were looking from this body. We would like to know what is the desired service area, the origin and destination, the schedule, frequency of service in order for us to be able to develop a plan, a service plan, and then come back for our recommendation.
Why don't we just have a trolley that once a week goes to all the senior centers, picks them up, goes to Walmart, stops in Mount Sinai, and comes back, just like does a route. Like, pick them up in the trolley, take them all to Walmart, do the rounds, and I think they'd be very happy with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you have in mind. My concern is if it's a trolley open to the general public, they're going to be less inclined to use it. This would literally come to the front of the senior center, pick them up. There would be a dedicated bus for them, so instead of making number of stops in between. If it's okay with everyone, I think this needs a lot of baking. What I'd like to do is meet with you and Jose, maybe Eric as well, bring this back, and then because you've mentioned some issues that do need some fine tuning. I think it would take us quite a while to do that here. If I can we'll come up with something, and I'll bring it back here in January, if that works. I've also spoken to our State Senator Garcia about this to see if there's potential funding from the state. So that's also something that hopefully I can incorporate in January. Does that work?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, that works. And is there any public comment before we move this?
No public comment.
Okay, so we're on to item number 2, please.
Item number 2 is discuss the From the Get-Go initiative that aims to overhaul the building permit review process by ensuring that all necessary items are identified during the initial submission and review. And building will be presenting.
So Marie, before I turn it over to you, thank you. I know we've done a lot of work with this and have had a number of meetings. Just to quickly summarize, the intent of this is that one of the complaints we get is that you submit a permit either on the first round, sometimes on the second go, you get different comments. When they think they're done, they're not. So that's the purpose of this. And from the get-go, meaning that the city has basically one shot at it, obviously barring some life safety issue that the city identifies. Certainly, we're not going to put something out there that's not safe. But so that's the purpose of this initiative. I know a lot of work has gone in already, but if you can take it from there.
Okay, so
And welcome,
thank you.
Vince.
So thank you, Mayor, for putting this on and giving us the opportunity to basically update the whole commission and committee and let you know where we are in this process. So as you all are aware, beginning in the early summer, all 6 of our permitting departments have been engaged in a service improvement initiative to enhance the customer experience. That initiative includes training of every single staff member, creation of service standards, which kind of didn't exist before, for every key role. That's intake, review, inspections, and even violations. A process improvement across the board, revisiting some of our internal policies, and enhancing the communication and access for all customers. So the next step in this whole thing is going to involve a business process that's related to each permit type and align these using an updated technology called Decision Engine. So that's the next step in the process. We have a short presentation that we want to show you that just kind of lets you know what we've done, where we are today, and then where we're going, and it's going to show you some metrics that you will see over and over again, because we're going to come back to these metrics. So, PJ, yes, thank you. Do I control this, PJ, or I guess I do. So, this is the permit process, right? So we have basically a 21-day review cycle for each review cycle. The areas that need to be identified in the very front end where the 2 stars are, which really relates to starting correctly, is in the very beginning when permits are, applications are submitted and they start conducting the initial application review. Then it goes into the review plans, and it is this beginning process that Decision Engine is really going to help redefine. So we're also enhancing our in-person experience. We have moved some very knowledgeable staff to the front desk, and we've created a QR code for Google reviews. We didn't have that before. And then we have also relocated violations and recertification teams to the front counter to answer a lot of questions, to avoid a lot of confusion. We've gotten a lot of very positive feedback for this. I'm not going to bore you with all the details. All this text is like the cardinal sin of PowerPoint. My favorite of these is the third one, where actually we are compared to the customer service you get at Krispy Kreme. So I found that interesting. But we've gotten a lot of good feedback, and it's all there on Google Reviews if you want to look at it. So the next thing we're going to do, we've already done over-the-counter permits. So that is something that's already in place now. The next thing we're going to do is something that we call fast permits, which are on a 5-business day cycle for reviews. Interestingly enough, 40 to 50% of all the permits that we issue today are in those 2 categories. So what are these? Over the counter, which is already in place now, is a total of about 13 different permits. And then fast permits and walkthroughs is the next step, and that's going to have like 9 different permits, and that's coming soon. This is going to be a pilot. We're going to have those walkthroughs twice a week in the mornings. It's just going to have that limited number of permits. We can expand it later if it starts working out. We're going to have to do some changes to the to the front of the building department and that waiting room in order to bring in more plan reviewers for this. And the benefits of this is, that, of course, it's going to give you immediate and clear feedback from the plan reviewer, and you can make corrections on the spot. So this is something that everybody has wanted for a long time, and we're going to be doing this. This is my last slide, and then I'm going to turn it over to Natasha. But Decision Engine, what it basically does is that it funnels you into the right permit class. A lot of mistakes today happen when you don't go into the right permit class. Undoing that down the road is very difficult. The issue, though, is that for us to really make this work is going to take a lot of time, because we have to go through every single permit type that we have. We have over 200, and we have to basically go step by step by step for all 240 of those permit types. We have to map it all out, and then it gets input into the system. Frank is here if you want to get into the details, but this is where we're going, and this is going to be the next step in our process. So, without further ado,
When is this all going to be implemented?
it's going to take a few months, because it's going to take. Where's Frank? It's going to a Decision Engine. It's going to take several months, because we have to have meetings with groups to be able to identify every single step, and it's a lot. What would you say, Frank?
A lot of that's going to be contingent on how much time departments can spare the staff, because the ones making the decisions to do that also have other tasks. We have a schedule put together. We should be able to have a better idea of that probably in the next, once we start the first couple rounds of it and everyone catches a groove with that, we should have a better idea of timing, but it'll be at least a few months worth of effort. Our intention is to start that mapping process, and as we get the results of what the process is, we'll do the configuration in parallel. So it's not like we need to wait everything to finish and then we do the configuration portion. It's also our expectation that the more the departments engage in this, the faster pace will start running once they get used to it. But as Maria said, there are well over 200 permits that need to be mapped step by step by step. And the reason for that is the way the solution works, when you go and you start using it, whether you're internal staff or the public, it'll ask you, for example, what is it that you're trying to do? Well, what kind of property do you have, for example? Is it residential? It's commercial. What is it that you're trying to do? A remodel? You click remodel. Is it a bathroom? Is it a patio? Is it a kitchen? Is it flooring? And you go clicking through those things in very non-technical terms. And at the end, it would give you a list of what it is that you need to submit, what your steps are. Really, the intention is to provide our residents and our business owners that use the permitting process clear instructions from the very beginning. So the building process and the permitting process for all the departments that use it tends to be very complicated. So this is a way to simplify it in less technical terms, so anyone can go ahead and open a permit and help. As we look, I'm not sure if we're going to cover all the statistics. It'll help cut down on the questions that we get, on the volume on the call center, the amount of people that come in confused. So that's all tied to the same strategy.
Thank you. And Maria, the walk-in center fully staffed, when is that?
Well, we have to hire a design firm. We're going to take someone from our rotational list. We were trying to hire the same people that did it before, but they're no longer on the city's rotational, so we have to go to a new firm. But we are in the process of. Yeah, we need to physically reconfigure. So we are going to have to make some changes specifically to the front counter and the waiting room. We don't need a waiting room of that size anymore. There's hardly anybody in it. If you ever look at it from the fourth floor, it's usually empty. So we're going to take advantage of that space and make it, set it up for these walkthroughs.
Good, thanks.
Sure.
Thank you. This is so important. I have met multiple times with the consultant that is working with. I've given him businesses, residents, and in hopes of helping give feedback to make the process better. Because the number one complaint of all the departments in Miami Beach was the building department. So Vince, we're so happy that you're here. And Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez?
Yep. before we programmed that system, and I know we had, welcome, and I know we had something in the pipeline with you guys to distinguish between what our requirements were as the city and what the Florida building requirements. Is anyone working on that currently? Because, for example, yesterday I had somebody complaining to me. They were like, we're renovating our condo, we're changing the floors, and we're putting in 2 new bathrooms, and the city of Miami Beach, and no other city does this, requires an architectural plan. Now, that architectural plan costs $5,000. So, because of that requirement, it sets everybody back. So, if you don't simplify our requirements and strip us down so that we're not over-regulated, and we are, that needs to be number one. You need to go through all 200 permits and say, what is mandated by the state of Florida? What is mandated by Miami Beach? And I don't know if you agree with this, but remove some of our requirements, which are expensive and egregious and take up a lot more time. If we do that, and that has to be before you even start the program, I would move that by, how long would you need to go through the 200 permits and remove and show us, here's what's mandated by the state of Florida building code, here's what's mandated by the city of Miami Beach, and see what you could remove to simplify. I mean, I think there's a lot of simplification that could be done. I don't think we should require an architectural plan if you're not changing where the plumbing is going, and you're not changing your electric, and you want to change your floors, and why do we have to do that? So if you keep those requirements and start the new software, there's not going to be any difference, because you're still going to mire us and tax us.
If I may, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, I'm not sure. There are mandates in the Miami-Dade County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 8, that regulate all jurisdictions, all 35 municipalities throughout Miami-Dade County, including Miami Beach. A floor plan is one of those when you're doing interior work, and when you're doing exterior work, a site plan. And there's some minimum requirements you have to identify. In a bathroom exchange, for example, a simple floor plan from your condo docs, perhaps a research in microfilm, will circumvent the entire architect cost. But I have to have some kind of reference to know what's going on, to verify that the toilet didn't move, and then alter the isometrics, which are the angles and the down bubble that the plumbing has to operate with. So if they could provide that, and I know it's existing, that you just knocked out a huge chunk of cost and time.
But in this case, they said they brought the building department a plan, and they said, this is not a certified architectural plan, we're not accepting it, and then they had to go and spend $5,000 for an architectural plan. I would hope that you could just even draw it with the dimensions that you needed to, and, like, it shouldn't be, all I'm saying, this is one little incident. My only ask would be to find out, what have we mandated above and beyond what the state and what the county wants, and what can we remove to simplify? Maybe we don't need to pull the painting permit, maybe we shouldn't have to pull that permit. Maybe if you want to get a dumpster, you don't need to pull a permit to get the dumpster. Like these simple things that...
A lot of what you just mentioned isn't us. So
Is it planning? And that's another thing.
Yeah, we only tell you how to build, not where to build or what additional
But could
things
there
like
be
that, or cosmetics.
Could there be a simplification before we program the software? That's my only ask. Could we simplify what we mandate?
Yes.
And, have us vote on it? Did you want to add something?
No,
Oh,
I didn't say
okay.
Absolutely, though.
Wasn't sure.
To answer you, absolutely. And all of that is part of the streamlining in the process that IT and the building department will look at with other departments to see if we could pre-program some of those options. So, it could be as simple as, do you have this already? Check. Now we don't have to look at that because you've already answered that. So all of that takes some logistics and some planning and massaging when coming up with decision engine and how that workflow is going to operate to facilitate it, again, for the layperson.
And the second thing, I guess my motion on this would be to come back in 2 months with the 200 permits to see what you could strip out regulatorily that we can strip out of our code to make things easier. If it's not mandated by, and I think that that will go a long way. And I don't know if anybody wants to second that.
I'm okay with that. Obviously, we would, just to make clear, we would review, if there are any. I mean, Vince, you can't even think of any offhand, right? Is that?
No, like, again, going back to the floor plan situation, I have an entire volume for existing building code, for existing buildings, right? As long as it had a permit, it's considered existing. And the only way some of this legacy items that we could attach to would be through condo docs, for example, and we accept those, or microfilm, all right? Or they call it laserfish now. But those documents would, again, relieve you and prove the fact that it is legally existing, and we could take off running from there. And that's a much lighter lift.
If you're doing a deep dive, and you have to do a deep dive at this point because you have to go through all 200 permits, could you take 2 or 3 months? How long, when are you starting the programming of the software? When is that commencing?
As we speak, part of it is also staffing on my side. We've already got some staff coming in to help facilitate the fast permits and the over the counter, so that you could walk through and talk to the actual person reviewing, so that you get that customer base. And hey, I need this, I need this, I need this. They bring it to you, and you come back to that person, and you're off to the races. And again, some of the issues, and I've heard this several times, are outside agencies that aren't even within the city of Miami Beach. And, you know, dare I say, Durham at Miami-Dade County is an outside agency for some of the larger lifts like restaurants or changes of use and things of that nature. But for simple remodels, again, if I have something to show, you're not moving anything, right? And it's from an official record, we don't need an architect at that point. Your contractor can lay out exactly what he's doing and give me the list. But I do need a reference document establishing that I could use that existing volume, okay, and hang my hat on that. And that way we're compliant with all state statutes and the Florida Building Code.
If I can say a few comments.
I'll second the item. Commissioner Magazine.
Thank you. And Vince, we spoke briefly, welcome you aboard. Really excited to have you. Obviously, very critical process that a lot of times the building department is used as kind of like a catch-all phrase for the entire process. But I kind of want to bifurcate two different things. The actual process, and I fully support what my colleague was saying. I want it as simplified as possible, you know, where we're not going above and beyond and making this, you know, an arduous task. But then there's also the culture aspect to it as well. And I think it's ingrained in our city, and I get this from my own anecdotal experience, hearing back from residents, but also talking to senior staff members that have been here a very long time, where whether it be the building department or the permit process, or even some of our boards, the goal in design oftentimes is to be very rigorous and very hard. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have a high bar, right? Because we all want, you know, the absolute best for Miami Beach. But I want Miami Beach to garner a reputation for both businesses and residents to be a great place and an easy place to do business and get things done. And a lot of that starts with the culture. So right now it's kind of ingrained in staff, in our processes of we need to push back, right? I want essentially our building department to start answering the phone calls with, how can I help, right? I want us to be viewed as we are here to help facilitate the process, not here to make the process harder, because it's complicated. A lot of people are not experts going through this. So I want our city to be viewed as helping our residents and helping our business stakeholders to facilitate, to achieve what they're trying to do, as opposed to having a culture where we're just automatically pushing back for the sake of doing so. So I'll leave the expert details up to you, but what I conveyed loud and clear is one of the reasons why we thought it was so important to fill your position with somebody of your credentials of outside experience, private sector experiences, because uniformly, we don't want to maintain the status quo, right? We want to change the culture, we want to change the processes, and we want to make this a city that is known for being easy to do business in.
Thank you so much. So we'll bring this item back in January?
Yeah, we can get an update then as well,
Yes.
along with the motion.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment?
No public comment, and our next item is
15.
item number 15, which is discuss the school board joint use agreement review regarding the Miami Beach Nautilus Middle School fence request at Polo Park. And the school board is here.
Thank you. Hi, John
Good
Rebar.
afternoon. John Rebar, Parks and Recreation Director. This item in front of you is a joint item with the school board and the city because it's a security measure, which I'm going to let them speak on, and I know they do have to run to another meeting. Basically, it is to provide a perimeter security for Nautilus Middle School during the school day, but we'll still have access to our playground and our tennis and pickleball courts during the day, which is heavily used by the community. But for sake of time, I want to turn it over to my friends from the school board.
Good afternoon. My name is Yesenia Ponte. I'm the North Region Superintendent.
And I'm Gilberto Bonce, the director overseeing the schools on Miami Beach.
So we're here in support of this fencing due to a new House Bill, House Bill 1473, with school safety. And that House Bill calls for establishing a new perimeter and door safety requirements in which school districts and charter schools governing boards must comply by August 1st of 2024. And it's keeping routes of ingress and egress security closed and locked when students are on campus.
Thank you for that. So this is going to be at our regular commission meeting after here?
Yes, if we get a positive recommendation, we'll take it to the commission.
I've heard positive feedback from residents on this. Thank you for all of your hard work in getting it done. Mark, can I move the item? Yeah, I'll move the item.
Second. Oh, no.
Okay, thank you. Second by Suarez. All in favor? Okay, so we'll move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
Any public comment? Okay, then we'll move on to number 1.
Okay. Item
Yes.
number 1, discuss possible suggested building department processes in historic buildings.
And that is sponsored by Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez, and I am a co-sponsor, and Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez, would you tee it up?
Okay, so wait, discuss possible suggested building department process in connection with building violations for small, older, okay, so I actually have an item right now about creating a code compliance task force that is focused on the older buildings, which is more legislative in nature and is a resolution coming before us. But I want to hear, I'm sure you guys researched this. So I know that we have a building violation curing program that we already have across the city. I don't know how many people really take advantage of it. Do they?
They do. There's a handful of people, and we're trying to spread the word and get it out there that we have this program. It's an amnesty or reprieve program, and it does allow those that either want to cure a violation or bought a property, and they're not aware that there was illegal work done, they can come forward and we will, number 1, not issue a violation, no violation fees, and then we'll help them through the process of legalizing it.
So as we issue violations with this code compliance task force, I mean, right now, like what were you envisioning? Because I think what happened is I've gone beyond this now, and I figured out some before we even had the chance to meet, because this is from September, and I continued to work on it. I mean, the only thing that I could say that we do is waive all fines on historic buildings, but I don't know, commercial, residential historic buildings, is that where you wanted to go with this?
Correct. So in speaking with the Flamingo Park Neighborhood Association, we were talking about how can we help historic buildings to address their violations and offer an incentive that does not have to do with height. So when I saw this item, I wanted to co-sponsor it because it had to do with violations for fixing things, and I thought we could come up with a better process. If you have legislation that's coming, maybe we can close this out and then wait for your resolution at the commission meeting and
Well, I definitely think, and you guys aren't going to like this because you're an enterprise fund, but I do think that people are going to need us to waive more and more violation fees, especially on historic buildings, and because of the fact that we're trying to invest in our historic districts. I don't know how many current violations we have outstanding, if they're building, if they're code violations. And I didn't even see what the administration is recommending here. The city is dedicated to proving this is really nothing.
Well,
And we're
so
doing-
we were writing that we do not recommend reducing fees for violations.
You don't?
We do not.
And there's a simple reason. So a violation exists for failure to perform or do the right thing, maintain, et cetera. So think about it. If there's no penalty, what's compelling good behavior or correct behavior, proper maintenance?
Well,
Okay.
the problem is that it has been such a nightmare to get a building permit that people have gone out and changed their bathroom without a permit, because to try to do so in the city of Miami Beach, the requirements are such and the process is so expensive and arduous and lengthy that people have done this. I wouldn't penalize them. Laura, could we keep this, I know you want to, cross out this item, but I have more, I would like to keep it here.
That's fine.
if that's
When do you
okay
want
with
it to come back?
Bring it back in December after I, work on my other, items.
Commissioner Bott?
Yeah, I share the sentiment that I think a lot of us do, that we want to try to incentivize people to do the right thing. Hi, Vince. Nice to see you. Do the right thing and help people who are trying to do the right thing. I think the issue is that people who might not have known or made a mistake or got bad advice, who are doing something on their own homes or their own 4-unit multifamily building, are one cast of characters. And maybe there's something we can do to help mitigate some of the fines for them, if it's only once or, one set of activities occurring to one thing. It's the businesses or the multiple property owners that have a history of doing this that I would like to get, hold on the hook and hold accountable for. So maybe as we continue this, we have that conversation and figure out how to separate the wheat from the chaff.
Commissioner Rosa
Absolutely.
Gonzalez.
And I'm sorry, but to your point, they could also go to the magistrate, which at the magistrate, at that point is when you can mitigate some of those fines when you've showed compliance and good faith in applying and going through the process. So the magistrate is that kind of Solomonic individual who weighs the process and can waive the fines on that side. But initial fees is a minimum requirement just to cover costs, and we're kind of obligated by statute to follow and be consistent across the board, because if not, you're choosing winners and losers and favoritism, and then you become indefendable,
Thank
basically.
you. Commissioner Rosa Gonzalez.
I tend to agree that I would like something simpler than the special magistrate process. Like, for example, if you get a building violation, if you get a building violation and you go and you start to rectify it, we immediately remove, without having to go to special magistrate, we'll remove the fine. And that's something that we could work on legislatively together, if you'd like to, Commissioner Bott, and along in conjunction with the building department.
I would too.
I mean, and Commissioner Dominguez would also co-sponsor. So you've got 3 people who would like to waive these, because what happens is, it's the biggest complaint we have. Maybe after you're here for a little bit of while, we'll see a slight shift in that. But there's been like a real inflexibility, and it's one of the biggest complaints we have. I don't know.
So let's move it to December.
We'll move it to okay. We'll move it to December and work on. Well, no. I think that we should move it to the commission, where if you get a building violation, where's Rob? Rob, this would be you. Okay. If you get a building department violation, let's do it for residential, not for commercial, just residential homeowners, and you get the violation and you go in and you apply for the permit, we're going to remove.
That's what the reprieve is. That's what we have already in place. The reprieve and amnesty allows for that already.
Until when?
Commissioner
Right now, it's been extended till 2026, April 2026, so it's.
Even on new violations. So I thought that those were people coming forward with their own violation, like people who that was for people who wanted to come forward and remove their violations. So we're going out and giving people violations and then saying, okay, we're not going to charge you for them, because I thought that program was for somebody who purchased a property and realized, oh, look, they redid the kitchen, okay, and there's no permit, and they came forward to legalize it. I think that's the program that you're talking about, which is very different from what I'm mentioning right now.
Okay, so can you reiterate what you're suggesting then?
What I'm suggesting is on residential properties, should we do it? We should probably only do it for, yes, Commissioner Bott?
With all due respect, I'm, as you know, a big fan of measuring twice, cutting once. I think we want to get this done in a way that actually accomplishes what we want. We have like 15 meetings stacked up in the next 6 weeks. I would humbly request that we give it the time to work with staff to come up with what we actually want to get done, and then bring it back fully baked rather than sending it directly to the commission without having time to have a conversation and figure out how to make this work.
Okay, and I think you have to parse out residential versus commercial and all of these things. I think it's mostly our residents, and we could do it for only historic districts too. If you get well, it should be you can't, I guess you have to do it across.
I mean, look, if we're looking for a better city with better residential product, let's make it for everybody.
And look, there's investment in this city like no other. The building department is flush with cash. I mean, you want to paint a condo? How much is that? You guys get like a $200,000 fee, $250,000 fee, because the building job is $3 million. I don't know what the current budget. What's the total budget of the current Miami Beach Building Department?
It's approximately 17 million.
17 million, and you have tremendous reserves too, correct?
We have a fund balance, yes.
How much is the fund balance?
It's at about 10 million.
Okay.
Off the top of my head.
All right. So, I mean, these are simple discounts. These are just violations for residents, so that when they get the violation and they have to go in and cure it. Are you okay, Natasha?
Well, the situation is,
I know he has thoughts on that.
Okay. No, say it. It's fine.
we're mandated by Florida Statute 553 that the fees are there to cover our expenses. And there's a limit on how much reserves we have. I want to reiterate something because throughout my time in enforcement, I've traveled and supported people on the West Coast and up north that have been hit by hurricanes, okay? Those funds are crucial when a disaster strikes, because that's how we bring assets to bear. And when I mean assets, I mean other inspectors, okay? I mean other facilities and things of that nature that if we deplete those funds, we can't bring additional staff, be it private or beg, borrow, and steal, basically. And if you're expecting FEMA to bail us out of anything anytime soon, we're gonna be waiting for a while. So again, some of those reserves have a very important and specific need. That said, we are still lacking a lot of staff, that the training comes specifically from that. Those fees are only for enforcing the Florida Building Code, improving software, specific building code enforcement items. So when we talk about discounts, one thing that we have also in statute is time periods. So we have mandatory times, just like we have to return plans and to perform an inspection. We also have time with which additional actions take place. So 30 days, 60 days, 70 days, because again, and I hate to use this example, but if someone behaves badly and there's no consequence or time period to it, what's there to keep them honest? So we need some kind of guide rail. So if we could sit down and massage something out going forward that doesn't go conflict with statute, and we could go forward and is amenable, that's something we could definitely discuss and have something that we measure twice and cut once. But to those ends, the funds are very specifically mandated what we can do, what we can't do, and discounts gets into a whole other area that I think we could discuss further.
Okay, why don't we bring it back in December, and in the interim, we can both meet with the building department and work something out.
Yeah,
Yeah, all three of us. We can have a sunshine meeting. That would be my.
Alex, I mean,
Are you okay?
should he be invited? All right,
Okay.
let's move on with this item then. December, thank you very much. Any public comment?
So we're bringing back
Okay, so December, and in the interim, we'll
And
have
we're
a
gonna
meeting.
have a sunshine meeting in the interim with Rob.
Okay, let's go with number 19, please.
Number 19 is discuss the naming of 4th Street in honor of Robert Raven Kraft. And this is sponsored by Commissioner Rosa Gonzalez, Commissioner Dominguez, Commissioner Magazine, and Commissioner Bach.
Okay. Hi, Raven. Well,
The
this
man.
is co-sponsored with Commissioner Rosa Gonzalez. Thank you for being the prime. I'm co-sponsoring Commissioner Magazine and Commissioner Bott. And Commissioner Rosa Gonzalez, would you like to tee it up?
Yeah. If you'd like to come forward right now as we complete these hearings in your honor, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the world record breaking Raven, who has run every day for the past 50 years. And
49 years and 11 months.
49 years and 11 months. And December 31st will be 50 years, and that is a world record.
On the sand.
Pardon? On the sand. World record on the
Six
sand.
all-time, running and longest streak on the sand and in the same place, right here on Miami Beach.
And by the way, he has not mentioned this, but on December 31st, are you not having an operation in the morning and running in the afternoon?
I was
or some
thinking
other
about
day?
it, but no guarantees I'd make it back. So
Okay, well that's good news that you're not
so far,
having an operation and running on the same day. I'm so pleased. All of us up here
Thank you.
are
Appreciate
here to honor you. By the way, it's not just me. Community members have come forward. I don't know how many people have reached out to us individually asking for us to commemorate you. So we have two parts going on.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be a surprise. So you're not really supposed to be, it was supposed to be a big surprise. But unfortunately, legislatively, now you know.
When the lifeguard said, yeah.
We are putting a plaque for you on 4th Street, and eventually.
Does it have to be on 4th,
Where would you like it?
3rd, or 5th?
Third.
I don't know if it's
Okay,
possible.
I know.
I live on 3rd, so
You want it on 3rd?
I'd like it on.
Okay,
if
on 3rd.
possible.
Okay, because we were naming 4th Street after you. Is that not a good thing? They said 4th.
But 4's my unlucky number.
What?
4's my unlucky number.
Oh, it's your unlucky number?
Yeah, can't do that.
Oh, no. So we're going to have to
I'm sorry.
redo the street naming to 3rd Street. Okay,
If
well, it's
possi-
good
if
that we're having
possible.
this conversation
I
then.
shouldn't be, beggars can't be choosers,
Okay, so we're changing the plaque to 3rd Street, and we will be presenting it to you on December 31st. Are you guys going to be here on December 31st? We will all go out to the beach and
What time? Because I know a big group is coming at 4 o'clock.
at 4. Well,
to run
we
with
will
me.
be there at 4 o'clock.
Well,
I think
they're
this is
coming
why.
to 5th Street to run with me. That's the
We'll work out the details. We'll make sure.
We'll work
figure
out
it
the
out.
details.
Okay.
Yeah,
If
and
I
thank
may.
you, Raven. I've been out with you several times.
You
My
have
late
been.
partner, Commissioner Samuelin, ran with you a couple times as well, and we just think you're terrific.
Chess man.
Commissioner Bott. Yes, with Chess Man.
The chess man, right. So, for
Twitchy.
purposes of this legislative item, I'd like to be referred to as Commissioner Twitchy, please, because that's my name.
Your nickname.
Let's see, Yellow Rose of, Yellow Rose, is that her name?
Yellow Rose.
Yes, has been reaching out to us, and we'll make sure that she's involved as well, and a few others. So there's a lot of folks interested in making sure this gets done well and to your liking and in a way that's significant. And we're talking about turning Miami Beach into a blue zone city, which is all about health and living well, long and late into your years, and with good community all around you. And I can't think of a better living example of that than you are. And so it fits so well. I'm so proud of everything you've accomplished and all that you represent to so many people here in the beach, and what that now means to so many people who come here just to run with you from around the world.
Thousands.
So congratulations.
Well, thank you. And I'm at Muscle Beach every day too, still.
That's right.
So, yes. Oh, I'm not the chair.
Okay. Do you want to speak, Commissioner, Vice Mayor Fernandez?
Thank you. And welcome, Raven. It's great to see you
Appreciate
here.
it.
And I think also we're working on a New Year's Day run that I think someone contacted our office, there's Monica, that they were reaching out to celebrate your anniversary. So many years running consistently here on the beach. And I just have a question for the city attorney. Does this code designation need to be approved by the county?
Not the plaque, but the street naming, but this is for the
Street name.
plaque.
Oh, this is for the plaque. Excellent.
So we're approving the plaque,
Excellent.
which has to go, does that have to go to the commission, this plaque?
Yeah, it would
Yes.
have to go to the commission.
Okay, so I would make the motion to send this commemorative plaque for Robert Ravencraft to the
All right.
November commission meeting. And we look forward to all the celebrations in December, and we appreciate you. And now we've got to change everything to 3rd Street.
Thanks.
So I'm glad you came.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, a
guys,
co-sponsor.
this is, we're actually
And the run
on-
starts on Fifth Street.
We have 2 items. We're actually on the street naming now, which you need to approve and then goes back to city commission. The plaque is next, and that also goes to city commission.
Well, I think we're going to approve both of them, and we have to change with the change to 3rd Street, and then we have to send this to the county.
Excuse
This
me,
is
if I
Commissioner
may.
Higgins.
And I think under the county code, the commissioner of the district needs to sponsor the legislation
Not for the plaque, just for the street.
for the street name. That's correct. Yeah.
So one might happen sooner than the other.
Yes.
Yeah, the plaque we know is happening, the street naming,
unfortunate.
we're working on it because the county is giving us a little hassle over some taxes. So,
It'll be sad if
we're-
something
Oh.
like this
Well-
gets.
but we're gonna
all
work
about
our
money.
way out of that, and we will have it for you, 3rd Street.
And that'll be a big day that people are coming from all over the 31st. So
Wonderful.
we'll do it maybe earlier in the day, and then I could do the run.
The street naming, I can
Is it
pretty much
possible?
assure you that that will not be finished
Oh, okay.
by December because we're
Okay.
having a little, there
Okay.
could be a miracle.
All right.
No
rush.
Well, no, even that would require a public hearing of the county
And
and.
that would take too long.
Yeah.
We're having a little, yes. So, but the plaque and then the street naming takes a long time, so.
understand.
But it will happen.
I'm not going anywhere but 8 miles.
Okay,
So-
all right.
Madam Chair,
All
if I
right.
could. Yeah.
Done.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having
We
me.
appreciate you, Raven.
Appreciate it.
Madam Chair.
Oh, Commissioner
Yeah.
Magazine.
Raven, embarrassingly so, while we're personal friends, I haven't been out to run with you, so I don't have a
No.
nickname, but I am going to make a point to do that. I promise you, you're on the record, but
How about before the 31st?
I would love to. I would love to. One thing that I've never conveyed to you is there was a photo, an aerial view of you during COVID, and it's with the entire beach cleared. And it was when a time where all of us were facing a great deal of uncertainty, what was going to happen. It was just at the beginning of COVID, and you were running. And I sent that around to my corporate team, to a long email list of people. There were a few things that I've seen that are more inspiring, that despite all the challenges life throws at us, we must persevere. So the example that you send people that you don't even realize is something to be commended for.
74 days, 606 miles out by myself. Anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Madam Chair?
All right, thank you. Stephanie, did you also read number 20?
I'll read number 20 for the record. Discuss installing plaques on 4th Street Beach Walk in honor of Robert Raven.
And that's gonna be 3rd Street now?
Correct. We're gonna, in the after action, it'll say 3rd Street and move to the full commission.
Yeah, O'Neill?
Yes, for the record, Neil Rodriguez, Assistant Director with the Transportation and Mobility Department. We would like to know 2 things. First, the limits on 3rd Street that the co-naming is going to take place for the co-naming of the street. And then the second item is that right now there's no criteria to co-name Mr. Robert Ravencraft. So then we would also need a recommendation to go back to the City Commission to amend the city code to add that additional criteria to name 3rd Street on his behalf.
So we need to add, if you have a world record, you can have a street named after you? Can we amend the city code, Rob? Could that be my motion to not just approve 3rd Street, but amend the city code to add, if you have a world record, are also eligible to get a street named after you?
Yes, you definitely do need the ordinance change to create some category, and if that's the will of the commission to make that the category, that can certainly be done.
Okay, so that would be my motion. Do I have a second?
Okay, so a second and by acclamation?
Bring it to the commission?
And the limits on
What
3rd
limits?
Street, from where to where the co-naming will take
Collins
place?
and Washington?
I would do, yeah, right? Collins to Ocean, from from
Ocean to Washington.
Thank you.
And that is the motion that was approved, was the category, if you have a world record, you can have a street named after you.
And the street naming.
The street naming, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. On to the next item then. We've completed 19 and 20. Any public comment?
No public comment at this
Number
time.
11.
Number 11 is discuss the potential installation of speed tables on 47th Street in order to reduce traffic speeds and increase road safety. And that will be presented by Transportation.
So,
Sponsored.
why don't we leave this, Commissioner Suarez went to get his computer, so can we skip it? I hadn't noticed that he was the sponsor.
Okay, we can
Okay, so
skip
let's
it.
go-
Number
Let's go on to
5.
number 18.
Number 18 has been deferred per the sponsor. So we will hear number 5, discuss a proposal for enhancing South Beach volleyball courts with smart lighting. This item is sponsored by Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez and Commissioner Maxey.
Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez, do you want to tee it up?
So we referred this committee so we could have a conversation surrounding this. It seemed like a great plan. We want to have the smart lighting. So John, will you let us know what you found?
Yes, Commissioner. After review, as a Parks Department, we certainly would like to have as much sports lighting as we can. However, there's a great challenge putting any lighting at all on the ocean and especially the beach and the turtle nesting area. So whether or not it would be permitted or not, which I don't think it ever would be, the lighting that was presented to me was not sports lighting. It's Acorn walkway lighting, which I would never recommend to serve as sports lighting. It just doesn't have the proper foot candle and lumens to safely have a sporting event. If you review the proposal, it's these Acorn lighting that go along sidewalks typically, and they're also selling 5G transmitter service. So I wouldn't call that sports lighting. So I'm just here to say I certainly would love to light as many courts and fields as we can. Don't think the beach is going to ever be possible, and this in front of me is not sports lighting. It's lighting.
Okay, so we thought we would discuss it with you. It seemed like a win-win, but now that I'm thinking about the amber turtle, amber ambient friendly
How
lighting.
you can see.
Explain why.
Hello, my name is William Arteaga, and I am the beach volleyball guy.
Amore.
Where do I start? I guess we finally got this sponsor light by a private organization, and I do believe on the sketches that the lighting will be enough for the sports event. I know there is a lot of hurdles between city and stuff, but this is an idea that everybody likes. And probably one of the biggest problems is the FFWC, the Turtle People. But we are working with that, and I believe that we are going to get through with them. The lights are going to be installed only on off the turtle season. They will be completely removed during turtle season, so there is no conflicts or anything like that.
Let's do something because I didn't loop John in on yet another item that we have. Let's defer this to next month, and in the interim, let's meet and let's come to some sort of accord because I want whatever it is that we do. If we are allowed to light the courts at night outside of turtle season, I don't think it's a very controversial thing, but I want to get approval from our Parks and Rec people because we have to. So it's the right thing to do. So could we defer this to December and
Bringing it to the commission in December,
you want to bring it to the commission?
because we'll know if you want it or not.
Okay, yeah, bring it to the commission, and between now and the December commission meeting, we'll have a meeting, and maybe we can come to some sort of compromise.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, if we are going to bring this to the commission, John, we've talked about similar issues. That area has been one of the best things that the city has done for Ocean Drive. We talk about kind of changing the culture and things like that. That volleyball area, Muscle Beach, we've talked about if that's the proper location for paddle courts. And that is just a sport that's taking off, bring changes in culture. So if we're able to make an accommodation for the lights, I'd like to think about it holistically and really turn that into our entire sports and parks and rec area down there. So when we think about adding lights for the volleyball court, if we could think holistically, if we find a solution, if we'd be able to incorporate paddle facilities as well, I think the more the merrier, the bigger the better down there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
So Commissioner,
Okay.
just to get clarification,
Yes.
Are we doing a memo to commission with a certain recommendation, or are we gonna meet first with the sponsor, and then the memo will be driven from
Exactly.
that?
Meet first with a sponsor, then send a memo to the commission for the December 11th meeting. You have to do it the week before, and make sure that it includes having the lighting outside of turtle season.
Okay, all right, so it's pending the meeting, Commissioner Rosenthal, so I'll get with you and your staff.
Thank you.
Jackie, to set up time.
Okay, great. Now, number 9.
Okay. Item number 9 is discuss the implementation.
that's,
That's
he's
Commissioner
not here yet.
Suarez. So we'll hear 6.
Okay, so let us skip over, number 6.
Number 6 is discuss additional police department budgetary items recommended by the Police/Citizen Relations Committee. And this will be presented by police, and it was sponsored by Commissioner Dominguez.
Hi
Good
there.
afternoon. Assistant Chief Danny Morgallo here on behalf of the Police Department. So we discussed the item with the PCRC recently, and it's the department's position that we ask that this be deferred to the next budget cycle as opposed to being included now as a budget amendment, simply because we are currently trying to staff the department to full capacity, and if this were granted now, we would not be able to staff it until later on in the year. So we would ask that we defer it for the next budget cycle for discussion then.
I completely understand, and having the finance chair here, I don't want them to get concerned either of bringing funding outside after we have already approved the budget. So what I will do with this item, if we can have it sent to the first workshop that we have in May about the budget, so that we can review and discuss, and the police department can make recommendations. Thank you
Thank you
so
so much.
much. Let me see if the next one is police as well. Number 7.
Item number 7 is discuss options to address drones or other aircrafts that engage in illegal activity.
Hi, Major.
Hello, Commissioners. Eric Garcia, Police Tech Services. The Federal Aviation Controls regulates the national airspace regarding all manned and unmanned aerial vehicles. I'll have the Deputy City Attorney speak on behalf of the rulemaking authority, but it's basically, we're preempted from regulating many things related to drones, including pilot, operations, airspace, altitude, flight paths, and equipment. So I'll have Mr. Rosenwald discuss some of the legal challenges, and then maybe at the end what we can do and what
I
technology.
know that I have something on the November agenda where we reviewed the preemptions and tried to address things where we could. Rob, anything to add here before we close this one out?
No, that's it.
Okay. The concern with this item was that I had some residents say that there were drones outside their windows, and what can we do? So it's unfortunate that there isn't much we can do for privacy.
Yeah, there's really very little we can control. We have been receiving anecdotally some complaints about the same things that
Right.
you do, obviously. The only technology that's available is really just a technology that tells us that drones are flying and when, but it doesn't really tell us what they're doing or if they're violating any rule or anything. So it would basically be an investigative tool for us to
All
go
right,
back
so we'll
after.
continue to monitor.
I think we continue to monitor, see how things develop,
And if needed, then maybe we have our lobbyists include this on their list of things to address with the state so that people can be held accountable if they're doing bad things, like looking in people's windows in their
Yes.
high rise and there's a drone sitting out there.
yes.
Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez.
we saw this massive drone the other day south of Fifth, and we couldn't believe that it was just hovering in a place that it could like see us. So yeah, I guess this is a new territory. Maybe
Yeah,
you want to place it on our legislative priorities.
Drones are allowed to fly, I'm sorry, yeah, drones are allowed to fly anywhere, and really, the expectation of privacy is very little if you're in, you know, anywhere where you can be normally seen, yes.
You know, I don't like to overregulate, but at the same time, I understand the privacy concerns. So, what are you planning on doing? What are what's the motion?
So why don't we give, my motion is to give this item to Peter, our legislative person, and see if he could add it to his list if there's any opportunity to address with the state. Are my colleagues in favor? Any second? Yeah, second. Okay.
And we'll close it out in neighborhoods.
And we'll close it out, yes. Number 16, Commissioner Fernandez. Will you text him? Because he went upstairs, so he can come back down.
Okay, I'll read the item into the record. Discuss a resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of Miami Beach, Florida, directing the administration to develop a plan to strategically implement enhanced public safety measures periodically through the year and present the plan for discussion at the Public Safety, Neighborhoods, Quality, and Life Committee.
Hi,
Morning,
how
ma'am.
you doing?
Doing great, ma'am, and you?
You know, it might be a couple minutes for him to
Absolutely.
come down.
You wanna
Let
go
me
on?
get another item.
absolutely.
Well, oh, there you are. Hi, he's here. Jump. Acosta will catch you. He's a Marine.
An older Marine. Slowing down a little bit.
All right, Commissioner, Vice Mayor Fernandez, if you would tee up your item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an item I placed on the agenda a while back to see how we can get a consistent level of enforcement throughout the year, comparable to what we have during certain periods of time. And let me explain what I mean. During certain periods of the year, we see a heightened level of traffic enforcement, a heightened level of DUI enforcement, a heightened level of tag checks, which help prevent criminal activity from occurring in our city, which helps us intercept criminals even from entering our city. And my request of the police department was to put together a plan how throughout other times of the year, other than, let's say, spring break or Memorial Day weekend or these more high-profile weekends, we're still incorporating some of these measures because it does align with our calls for consistent enforcement, for consistent intercepting guns, consistently catching people who may have open warrants before they make their way into our city, consistent enforcement of DUI. So I'd like to turn it over to the Deputy Chief to present to us their plan and their recommendations.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Madam Chair, Vice Mayor, members of the commission, Deputy Chief Paul Acosta on behalf of the Police Department. Vice Mayor, thank you for the item. What the Police Department did at your direction was take a look at all our special events that the Police Department manages throughout the year and take a look at the current operational plans that require enhanced staffing, additional Alpha Bravo staffing throughout the year, and also look at some of the proactive measures that we take, as an example, DUI checkpoints, LPR checkpoints, DUI saturations, and things of that nature. One thing we do is live by a calendar. We know when these events are coming into our city. Sometimes some events are sporadic in nature or they catch us by surprise. But one of the things that we are able to do is pivot and prepare and call resources in whenever necessary. So one of the things we did in looking ahead at 2025 is we looked at what we know now today about special events that are coming into our city or some sort of holiday and things of that nature that might bring in additional visitors to our city. The residents expect a high level of police visibility, not just on holidays or special events. They expect it throughout the year. So it's our mandate to go ahead and prepare throughout the year, enhance staffing, and lean on resources, not just within the police department that may not be typically used on a daily basis, but outside agencies. As an example, our county partners. We have a phenomenal relationship with Miami-Dade County, and as we look at these events, we anticipate pulling them in to provide us additional resources for additional police visibility, for additional law enforcement action when necessary, and also to prevent crime. One of those types of resources and deployment schemes that we'll use are bicycle patrols from Miami-Dade County. We know that they have a robust, big bicycle unit. They get in and out of traffic whenever we have those particular concerns with certain special events, and allow us to get to places and answer calls and be more visible than normal. With the new sheriff being elected most recently, I will share that for us as a police agency, we're excited that Sheriff-elect Cordero Studs has been elected because she has a phenomenal relationship with us in the command staff, and throughout the years, we've been able to lean on her whenever we've needed her, and just to pick up the phone and ask for a favor for additional personnel. So we know that that relationship and that partnership will continue and will even be robust in nature when she assumes the office. Mr. Vice Mayor, we have a list of events for 2025 that we can now anticipate that we will prepare enhanced staffing and the use of these outside resources as well. This will be consistent throughout the year, not just in specific timeframes where we've been challenged. This will be throughout the year. So our residents will be able to see a dramatic difference in what we're doing. And I think they really do like the enhanced enforcement measures whenever they're out there.
Thank you, Chief. And if I may, through the chair, you know, the reason why I asked this to be placed on the agenda, because right now, the implementation of a lot of these measures have drawn criticism as they have been perceived to be targeting specific populations as opposed to the intent of the city, which is to address crime and public safety concerns, which have been specifically experienced and historically experienced during certain high-impact periods. And so what I want to make sure, and I thank you for this presentation you've put together and you've placed here. I see we have 14 events proposed for the fiscal year during which a certain level of heightened police presence will be placed. What I want to make sure is that we have license plate reader details, we have DUI checkpoints during non-event weekends. Yes. And I want to just make sure of that. Yes. That for me is very important, that independent of any event going on, that we send the message to anyone who is looking to prey on our community. You can come any weekend of the year, and whether there's an event or not, you are to expect for there to be police presence. You are just to assume that there could be a DUI checkpoint or that there could be a license plate detail, and that if you are coming here with illegal weapons or illegal substances, you might be caught and arrested before you're able to penetrate into the city. Yes. And so I just want to make sure that that is part of the plan that is before us.
It is, Vice Mayor. It's noted there towards the end of the numbers. It talks about DUI checkpoints or DUI saturations, I believe. Yeah, DUI checkpoints on a quarterly basis. Now, of course, we have to make those announcements to the general public whenever and wherever.
How about the license plate details? How come we don't have those on a quarterly basis?
We don't, Vice Mayor. Those are actions we can do at any time. We can do it every week. We could do them every month, as an example. So our plan, obviously, we want to make sure that we're not burning folks out. Our plan is to do it in line with the DUI checkpoints quarterly. DUI checkpoints, like I said, have to be announced to the media and folks like that from a legal perspective. But the license plate readers and/or DUI saturations, those are different. We can do those at any given time. And we have also grant funding to do those. So you have our commitment that it is our intent to weed out any criminal activity that comes into the city through these kinds of measures throughout the year.
Would you be open to incorporate, to number one, these quarterly DUI checkpoints independent of any event? I think we need to lead with, and I think that should be number one on the plan, because events come and go.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
But who stays here are our residents.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
Who we, and our community and our businesses who we're trying to keep safe. So number one should just be on a regular basis, on a quarterly basis, if we could do these DUI checkpoints.
Yes, sir.
And incorporate into the plan, even though you can do this on a regular basis, but incorporate into the plan a minimum amount of times that we're gonna announce that we're gonna be doing these LPR details.
Yes, sir.
That way it's being communicated to the criminal world out there that Miami Beach is being very proactive about this, but also the message is being sent. This is not targeting weekends when specific populations are coming here. That has been the misrepresentation that has been put out there over time. And so if you would be open to that.
We are, Vice Mayor. And listen, we really appreciate this item because this codifies what we do throughout the year. We do DUI checkpoints outside of special events. We do it saturations throughout the year, but no one really knows that, right? So this at least puts this in.
Well, but wait, hold up. But let me just ask you.
Yes.
If we are doing it, why do people not know it?
Well, the DUI checkpoints, it's announced. We do a press release.
So
and
people
it's announced.
should be knowing
They
it.
should know that, yes. But as
Okay.
far as the DUI saturation, DUI saturation is different from a DUI checkpoint. What that entails is police officers that are DUI certified, are skilled in locating and detecting drunk drivers. They are moving throughout the city. It's not in one location. So they go and they hit all areas of the city looking for drunk and impaired driving. So that's what a DUI saturation is. There's no announcement that's required by law. That's an enforcement tactic that we use.
But you just said something that concerns me.
Okay.
Because I feel like now this is a status quo. Because you just said that this codifies what we're already doing. And I want to make sure that we're going above and beyond what we're already doing. Because if we're just doing what we're already doing, there's no need for this item. I want to make sure that we're going beyond what we're already doing, that we're not just doing the special events, that we are actually going outside the special event world of weekends, and that we're actually targeting just regular weekends out of the year and making sure that we're keeping those weekends safe as well with this level of enforcement.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I can't make a motion, but it'd be great if we could make a motion to send this to the commission to
I
accept this plan
move
with the
for
comments.
this to go to the commission. It's a great item, Vice Mayor, and thank you for keeping on top of public safety and our special events and beyond. So
Thank you, Madam
I
Chair.
make the motion. Is there a second? To move it to the commission? All right. All in favor? Okay, so now number 17.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, item number 17 is a resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the Miami Beach, Florida, directing the city administration to explore the viability of creating police substations similar to the police substations in North Beach, in the Collins Park neighborhood, at City Hall, in South of Fifth neighborhood, and in Mid Beach, in order to make law enforcement resources and incident reporting more easily accessible and readily available for residents and visitors, and to more efficiently address criminal activity throughout the city, and further directing the city administration to report the findings and proposals to the Public Safety, Neighborhoods, and Quality of Life Committee at its July 10th, 2024 meeting, in order for the committee to provide its recommendations, including the fiscal and administrative impact, to the Mayor and City Commission in advance of the fiscal year 2025 budget process. Now I am tired.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
I'm going to
Fernandez.
recognize Assistant Chief Danny Morgallo to present on this item. Assistant Chief, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. Assistant Chief Daniel Morgallo on behalf of the Police Department. First off, thank you for bringing this item, sir, because it's brought us into a very meaningful and prosperous conversation about how we can better engage the community. So throughout this process, we've asked our area captains and different NROs and personnel within the police department, but also working with other city departments, to try and identify facilities that may be viable for us to expand our outreach with regard to neighborhood substations. Among the different locations that we looked at is we looked at the Collins Park Artist Workforce Housing that's under construction. And that particular location is not viable for us to use as a permanent facility for a neighborhood substation, just because of the design layout and the area that they're actually identifying for that is supposed to be like a common shared artist space for the building. So that particular location would be more appropriate for us to use as like a community meeting office space from time to time, similar like we do at the ballet and other areas in Collins Park. The 210 Second Street location for a permanent substation is a city-owned facility, but it's going to need to undergo considerable construction to make it viable to meet our accreditation standards that we're required to have a substation where we host folks from the public within the building, and then we have common spaces that are shared with the public and areas that the public doesn't have access to, where we keep computer systems and sensitive areas that we're required by law to keep separate. So the way that building is currently laid out, it has a small footprint inside. I want to say in the area of 200 square feet, 200 to 300 square feet inside, and then it has an additional covered patio area in the back that would need to be enclosed, and then there would need to be some construction inside to redesign that facility. The estimate that we received in 2023 for that facility is $280,000 to $380,000 just to enclose the screen patio space. In addition to that, we would need to go through the design phase to set up that space so that we can bring folks in, and it's a forward-facing south of Fifth police substation. In addition to that one, we looked at City Hall. And the City Hall spaces, there's a couple of spaces within the building that we looked at. The most ideal space would be downstairs at the area right between the two elevators. That's currently occupied by a city department, so we would need to find a new home for that department if we took that space. However, that would place our police substation at the main access point to the building. There is an additional space that was looked at on the third floor of the building, but the farther you locate the police substation within the building, then it affects response and access to the building to be able to get to the police substation. I believe you may have a question, sir, or you want me to continue?
Through the chair.
Commissioner Suarez?
I think the last time we talked, we also explored the idea of a mobile unit.
Yes.
Yeah, that's in the memo as part of his presentation.
And that's what I'm going to get to next.
Good.
So in addition to all these fixed facilities, the city's recommendation, and I'll cut to the chase, is the most ideal option to give us maximized visibility, to be able to give us the mobility and the flexibility to have a substation staffed one time, as opposed to staffing multiple locations, would be the mobile concept that we talk about in the memo. And cost-wise, it's on par with a brick and mortar facility, but as opposed to a brick and mortar facility that gives us visibility in one area, this particular option gives us visibility wherever we want to set up throughout the city. We could set it up on a schedule. It could be staffed with folks from community affairs or neighborhood resources, or basically adding staff specifically to operate this vehicle on a regular scheduled basis throughout the city, and allows us to maximize presence visibility wherever the need is within the city. If that's, Crespi Island, if that's on the west end of Normandy, if that happens to be on the Venetian Island, if we potentially have a crime issue that we need a visibility, mobility option, this mobile neighborhood substation becomes the best option.
So let me just ask you a question, because and through the chair, if I may, I see that comes at a fiscal impact of about almost $500,000. And so that's a significant cost. what's the average lifespan of one of these vehicles?
So I can tell you our current mobile command post, which is a similar type of vehicle, we've had since 2011 or 2012 and is probably in the middle of its lifespan. There is periodic maintenance that is incorporated within that cost. And that is not just the initial outfitting cost. There's warranty. It can be serviced here locally. But we are still 14 years almost into our main mobile command vehicle, and it's still state of the art.
And why wouldn't we just use that vehicle? Because from what I see, that vehicle is used during high impact periods, for example, or when there is an emergency that then it's deployed. But then, correct me if I'm wrong, other than that, it's usually stationed in the police station, isn't that correct?
It's either at the police station or it's at an off-site location where we park it. However, the way that particular MCV is configured, it's not configured to have members of the public inside the vehicle. So there's too many sensitive areas within that vehicle that we cannot cordon off or section off, and it wouldn't be suitable in its current configuration to bring folks from the outside. Additionally, that particular vehicle requires a driver with a CDL, whereas the suggested one, anyone with a Class E Florida driver's license can operate it. It's smaller, so it allows us to deploy it much easier throughout the entire city. And then it gives us the option of having a backup mobile command vehicle in the event of an emergency.
And how many staff persons would that mobile vehicle require?
So we'd have to obviously go through an operational assessment of what type of services we want to offer out of the vehicle, but it would probably be a driver who's also the person that operates the vehicle itself and the different systems on the vehicle. And then there would probably be a public safety specialist and a police officer on the vehicle as well when we deploy it.
Colleagues, number one, I think it's been the policy of the board, of the commission, to be advancing a substation of sorts in the South of Fifth neighborhood. And I think that that's delineated here, and I think that that should be considered. I know that there has been a desire to designate the police department, the city hall as a substation of the police department for its public safety benefits. I'm not sold on that need completely. I'm open to the recommendations of our committee. I think Commissioner Suarez had a great idea at the last meeting when the mobile police substation was brought up, and I think both the South of Fifth location and the mobile police substation is something that we should be considering, because that way we get to move it to the areas of greatest need. You might notice certain times of a year you may have an issue in one part of a city, and then another time of the year during certain day parts, you may need it in a different part of the city. So I really like the flexibility that a mobile police station could offer us, and it seems like a good investment from what you're telling us, if we're currently halfway through only the lifespan of our current unit. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, Vice Chair Suarez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple things. For South of Fifth, that's an internal affairs station?
No, that's actually on the Second Street, kind of right behind where Amnesia used to be. So on the alley of Second Street and Washington Avenue on the south
I
side.
forgot where Amnesia was. No.
So it's the address is 210 Second Street. So it's actually facing Second Street.
No,
right-
there's an internal affairs office next to the dog park on Washington.
This would be across the street on the south
Okay,
side.
so that's still an internal affairs building?
Yes.
Okay. Could that be made into a police substation? You're saying that's too small, or?
We really hadn't looked at the internal affairs facility to be able to convert it to a substation.
Because it seems like it's perfect. I mean, it's already it's like centrally located. That's what the South of Fifth residents, have been asking for a long time. I'm all in favor of a mobile unit. I think that's a great idea, but it's mobile, right? It's not going to stay in South of Fifth, right? It's going to be moving around. Right. So, would it be possible, I guess, I don't know how my colleagues feel, I think we would need to refer this to finance for the mobile unit if we're all okay with that. And then maybe come back at next month and look at that internal affairs office next to the dog park on Washington to see if we can convert that. I mean, I'm assuming there's only like a handful of people there in internal affairs. It's just administrative. But that location is, it would be the perfect substation for South of Fifth. So maybe you can come back at the next meeting and see what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, we'll definitely look into it. We would have to obviously find a new home for our internal affairs, because ideally we want to keep internal affairs not co-located with the main headquarters so that folks feel comfortable coming there to obviously report complaints.
And then this is Commissioner Fernandez's item, so. Okay, well, I want to make sure that, so when you come back, you'll have specifically for that site, an idea if that's possible. And if it is possible, what could you do with the internal affairs? Paul, are you in the back? You want to say something? You're like moving around, man. Huh?
Do we own that property?
Yeah.
I don't know if we own it or it's leased. I believe it's ours.
It's ours,
It's
because I know
attached
at
to
one
a
point,
dog
the
park.
the clerk of the courts used to operate from there. at
Yeah, I
one point.
believe
So
so.
I don't know if we own the property or if we have a lease on it.
So we'll do a little bit of research into that particular location. We hadn't looked at that as a potential substation location, but we'll look at it and we'll get back to you.
Right, and look, we're not looking for like a jail cell in there. People who walk around, they want to see that there's a police fixed presence there, and they've been asking this for a long time. There's one in North Beach, so you should have one in South Fifth. But so I'll make a motion to refer the mobile unit to finance.
And then bring it back? Or no?
Well, we could.
To commission.
Yeah,
Well,
it would have
to
to
the
go to
commission.
commission.
Okay,
Would you
so
join me
it's
as a
out of
co-prime on this?
neighborhood.
Because it was your idea, the mobile substation.
Sorry,
If you join me as a co-prime.
yeah, of course.
And I'll co-sponsor that as well. And I believe we have public comment.
Yes, we have caller in user number 4. Caller, if you could please identify yourself and unmute yourself, you have 2 minutes.
Hi. Hi, good afternoon. Matthew Goldhanoff. I'm a South of Fifth resident. And at a recent opportunity, I had to ask the Assistant Chief Margallo about the necessity of a substation south of Fifth. And I believe the response was that if you look at the crime statistics, it's not necessarily needed. So I know that we're in a very heightened alert of fiscal responsibility. And, when I go and talk to my neighbors in the South of Fifth neighborhood, the number 1, number 2, number 3 priority I hear is not, hey, we need a police substation. So I just, I think that we all want to see more police officers walking and biking in our neighborhood. We want to see more traffic enforcement to make it safer for the residents and the visitors that live there. I'm not sure, and I don't believe the police staff is necessarily sure either, if a substation is what's best for the neighborhood. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the feedback. Any others?
So,
Okay.
If I could just have clarification, your referral to FERC, it needs to go first back to the commission. Commission refers it to FERC, then it would
Let's
go
do
back.
that.
If FERC approves it, it'll go back to the commission for its final stop for the appropriation of the funds to do what you're asking to do.
I
So
love it.
Thank you.
that's your path.
Great. Okay.
Okay, and then with that, Vice Mayor Fernandez is deferring 14 and 13.
Yes, to next month.
And Vice Chair Suarez is deferring 11?
Correct.
All right. So we will now go to number 9.
Item number 9 is discuss implementation of rain gardens, increased natural vegetations along city roadways to enhance stormwater.
No, wait, I'm sorry. I wanted to, you hear
Defer
11,
that one.
yeah.
Backwards,
Backwards.
sorry. So,
Okay, so
defer
that
number
item that I
9.
just read into the record will be deferred, number 9, and we will hear number 11, discuss the potential installations of speed tables on 47th Street in order to reduce traffic and increase road safety.
Vice Chair Suarez.
Yoniel, if you want to take it away, if you would see what you guys have prepared.
Yes. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members. O'Neill Rodriguez, Assistant Director with the Transportation and Mobility Department. Just to give you a little bit of a backstory, The city recently completed a traffic study in the Orchard Park neighborhood. The traffic study was from Prairie Avenue to the west, Pine Tree to the east, 47th Street to the north, and 41st Street to the south. As part of that traffic study, we did analyze the traffic conditions on 47th Street. 47th Street is a collector road, which at the time, it did not recommend traffic calming devices since the county does not allow traffic calming devices on collector roads. Since then, we've been able to negotiate an interlocal agreement with the county that in essence will allow the city to install traffic calming devices on collector roads that are owned and maintained by the city. We're in the process of finalizing that agreement. That agreement will allow us now to be able to install on devices on 47th Street. So that is the recommendation that we're looking forward for right now. We are proposing to proceed with a short-term solution, which is to install temporary traffic calming devices in anticipation of the permanent traffic calming at a future date. The cost for
What are those, give me an idea of what are the temporary traffic calming devices?
We're anticipating installing speed cushions, similar to what we're installing throughout the South of Fifth neighborhood right now.
Okay.
And the idea is to. Sorry.
The idea is?
The idea is to install those first and then make them permanent as part of the neighborhood-wide traffic calming project.
And permanent would be like a concrete?
More of a concrete or asphalt type of.
Like a raised sidewalk, maybe?
Correct. Would not necessarily raise crosswalks. It'll be more of a speed hump looking device.
How wide?
Wide, so it'll be one per lane. So at one location, you will have two, and that is to allow those bigger vehicles to not be able, like fire trucks, to not be.
So the length is a lane and the width?
The width varies. It could go from 4 to 8 feet. It depends on the design.
Okay, Commissioner Bott, then Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez.
So, will this, I have two questions. Will this on 47th Street help with the issue with 47, 46 Pine Tree, that whole drama?
Unfortunately, not necessarily. The concern on 46 and 47 is the speeding along Pine Tree Drive.
Okay.
These speed humps or speed cushions on 47th Street will mitigate the potential speeding and cut-through traffic along 47th Street.
So one of the frustrations has been that we all generally think that speed cushions or tables on Pine Tree in that area would serve just the right amount of help that we need for that area rather than having two traffic circles. But we've been told by the county that we can't do it because it's a collector road. 47th, you just said is a collector road. It's a difference that we maintain 47th and they maintain. So would there be an option for us to take over the maintenance of that portion of Pine Tree in order to be able to effectuate the traffic calming measures that we want to see there, instead of having it be a county-owned and maintained road just for that section?
Well, in order for that to happen, Commissioner, the county would have to provide, give the city jurisdiction of the roadway. So that's a much broader conversation that would have to be, further explored.
So maybe we could get together after or in the next few days to talk about that as a possible workaround. Okay, thanks.
We already got a traffic calming circle. Where are you putting
Where?
the speed bump? We have one right there on 47th Street. Like how
So-
many more?
so-
I don't know that we want this. I mean, you
Let
already.
him speak.
So we have the traffic circle that you're referring to, Commissioner, is in the Nautilus neighborhood, which is from Alton Road and Meridian. The segment of 47th Street that we're referring to is between Prairie Avenue and Pine Tree Drive. So it's a 47th Street in essence connects all the way from Pine Tree Drive, from Pine Tree Drive all the way to 47th Street. We do have some traffic calming devices on the western segment. Now this would be to provide additional traffic calming devices on the eastern segment.
Did you have complaints?
Oh, I mean, I have videos of accidents of like flipped cars that people have come to me about.
On 47th Street?
Yeah.
I never see any
hold on.
accidents or flipped cars. I mean, it's fine. You're gonna put one speed bump?
Right
It's gonna be
now,
like an obstacle course. It's gonna be like, go around the traffic circle, go over the speed bump.
Well, but listen, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, look,
I
there's
guess
speed,
it's fine. No, it's fine. I mean,
there's speeding, and there's there's people walking their dogs and their children, and if there's a couple more obstacles in the residential neighborhoods, I think that's a good thing. That
there's
it slows-
sidewalks on both sides of the street. It's not like there's no
I
sidewalks
know, but when you're-
there. And who's really I mean, I guess you could. I guess if you were gonna do a speed bump, would it be over by the commercial area down there?
the exact locations have not been determined, Commissioner. That would be part of the analysis that we would conduct, finding those suitable locations. On top of that, as part of the traffic calming, we do need to get, concurrence from the directly affected property owners. So once we've determined where those locations are, we'll be going to those directly affected properties, both on the north and the south, and they have to provide concurrence that they agree to have those devices in front of their homes.
How many are you considering? Like one?
Well, I'm
So
gonna,
we anticipate potentially 2 locations, but whether it's 1 or 2 will not be finalized until we do the data collection required for that.
yeah, I mean, look, again, if it slows cars down a little bit in a residential neighborhood, I think that's a win. No.
I mean, I suppose, I mean, we already have the traffic circle that kind of causes a lot of problems. I see the bus, like stuck in it all the time.
Yeah, the issue,
I don't love what we did so far, so if it's a speed bump and it's just a simple, like, cement speed bump, like you normally find, and not something like the county ones are like these weird ones on steroids, so like, you know what I'm talking about on LaGuardia Drive?
Is the traffic circle already implemented?
We already have a traffic circle. So
When
I
did
mean,
it
but
get implemented?
we got the 2 years ago,
a couple
3
years
years
back.
ago.
So this
Yeah.
is new, it's still a problem.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's, I mean,
He's
people,
one speed bump. I don't have a problem with maybe one speed bump, but I mean, like traffic circle, then speed bump, then speed bump. I mean, like, I guess I wouldn't do the commercial area. I would just do one then on that one street between Prairie and, like
Well,
one. Because I mean,
there are
it's
no-
not like
there are
you
no-
don't have sidewalks.
there are
There's-
no circles on 47th Street, right?
Yes,
So-
there's a traffic circle on 47.
There's an existing traffic circle on 47th and Michigan. That was
that's
also
right.
part of the Nautilus.
Yeah,
Mine
but
is
so
the-
where are
those
the,
are
where are the
speed
two,
bumps,
where are the
so it's
two
like-
locations that you have the speed, tables at, that you've identified?
So we have not defined those 2 locations,
Yeah.
but it will be somewhere between Prairie Avenue and Pine Street Drive.
Yeah, so Commissioner, just to your point, there's only one, there's only one speed, there's only roundabout at 47th and Michigan. That's on the west end of 47th. A lot of the speeding also happens on the east side of the bridge. And there's no traffic calming whatsoever there.
I could see you putting one, like, okay, there's delineated sidewalks on both sides, so it's not a pedestrian issue. If you were going to put a speed bump,
Well, there's also like a bike lane, right? And so.
you could put a speed bump possibly like nearby where, there's like a convenience store and a shul, like over there. I mean, that's random, like I have no data to
I
back
think,
that up. but I'm
right,
just
and I think let's have staff decide. I
Yeah,
think, let the professionals, I think.
Okay, just
the-
don't
what-
go crazy and make that street like, an obstacle course.
We'll
'Cause
not,
that's- Everyone's gonna be
So-
like messing up their
so
car
something
and
that
angry.
we also have to look into is the access drivers to the single-family homes, that they're not in front of any fire hydrants, that they're not covering any manhole covers or water valve covers. So there's a whole exercise that we would have to do in order to finalize those locations, but and that may very well limit the locations where we can. Perhaps only one location is suitable, but we won't know until we do the due diligence.
Madam Chair, if I could.
That's, okay, that's right where the commercial area is, and I suppose you could put one there.
That's a flipped car on 47.
Okay, but I
Look
mean,
at this.
honestly, we don't see flipped cars that often on 47.
Well, I mean, how often do you see just a flipped car laying
Well,
around?
yeah, but just, there's an accident, which is an accident, that doesn't mean that you
fill something up with speed bumps based on one accident. I mean, how many accidents have there been? I mean, I know that we need a traffic calming. We got the traffic circle. Like,
Okay.
one.
I guess you need direction from us to do what?
So there's a funding, the cost to analyze and potentially design on the temporary devices approximately.
There's two of them, right?
There's,
And they're about 13,000 each?
well, between design and construction implementation, it'll be approximately $55,000. That's the estimate that we've come up with. If this body recommends moving forward, incorporating those as part of the overall, the neighborhood traffic calming, we'll take that to the city commission for
Because,
consideration.
I asked for each speed table in the south of Fifth, I think it came out to about $11,000 or $13,000.
That is
each,
correct.
right? So
Yes.
if there's two, at the high end, it's 26,000. So you're telling me that it's gonna take another 24,000 to design and?
That is based on the cost estimates the preliminary cost estimates that we received from our consultant that is currently engaged to design the traffic calming.
So if we're gonna be spending $24,000 on that, maybe they, for now, let's do two, okay? But maybe they can also identify other areas that may need it, based on traffic, accidents.
So just so you know, Commissioner, we do have the neighborhood, where we have a number of devices throughout the neighborhood, which is already under design for the Orchard Park neighborhood. So there's already been other locations identified where we're installing traffic circles, raised crosswalks, and also.
And this is all done
speed
through a
issues.
consultant?
The design, yes.
It has to be done through a consultant?
Correct, yes.
So the traffic team can't do it themselves, can't say, hey, we suggested here and save ourselves $26,000?
Unfortunately, at this time, we cannot.
Can I ask one favor?
Sure.
Do you have the accident data for 47th Street?
We have that data readily available, correct, yes. It was
How many
also included
accidents
as
have there?
part
I
of
mean,
the.
if it is an issue, then I want it to address it, but I just want to find out how many
says it-
accidents we've had. We have those traffic things everywhere, by the way.
That's good.
I guess.
The
Listen, there's
data,
kids running around, like it's a
the data
neighborhood.
that was utilized for. So Commissioner, I'll be more than happy to share that data with you, in the future.
Yeah, and look, sure, come on.
Don't put a police officer on 47th Street.
Just wanted, I just wanted to add, that for us as a department, speeding is a concern on Pine Tree Drive. That is clear. And we've also had a number of serious accidents just south of 47th Street. As the roadway bends to go south, there's a huge tree. And historically, over the course of my career, the tree unfortunately wins each and every time. Folks that are driving, when they're speeding, don't negotiate that curve to the right properly if they're driving too fast or impaired, and they drive straight into that tree. So traffic calming devices ahead of that and forcing people to slow down may help with that particular situation. Yeah?
Yes, Commissioner Bott.
So I forget which meeting it was recently where we were talking about the traffic calming issue, I think it was finance. We talked about having proactive police enforcement if we know that accident data is predominantly Friday, Saturday nights after midnight when people are impaired. It's not a permanent solution, but can we just have somebody out there, even just having the blinking, having somebody out there, not just having the car with the blinking lights?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Especially as we head into season in Basel and all that stuff where we know people are going to be out,
Yes.
festivating.
Yes, ma'am.
That would be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's move this to finance, it's
You know
under.
what here's what my suggestion would be, because we already have the budget that we approved on for this year. Why don't we include it in the May budget workshop for consideration?
In May?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Madam Chair, if I may, can I,
Yeah.
yes. Is there not like a transportation budget that you can use discretionary funds, on an inter-year basis?
So we do have part of our operating budget, we do have about 400,000 that, it's for few different things. It could be maintenance of the RFPs or miscellaneous traffic calming, traffic studies that we conduct as they come up. But it's not just dedicated for this. It's for
Because I ask you, just considering what the timeline could be, we've had the discussion on the speed table on West Avenue, 6 months, 7 months. Any update on where that is?
that right now is in design.
Yep.
That
so-
is part of a capital project that is dedicated for raised crosswalks.
raised crosswalks.
So we're able to tap into that.
So point being, these can have a significant lag time after you even undertake the project. So I don't know if we're able to, we're talking, what, $26,000, if we'd be able to tap into that ongoing maintenance fund.
Just two things. Again, I mean, people send me accidents all the time on 47th. I certainly don't want to try to delay, Madam Chair, on sending this to a budget.
I agree, but we should be fiscally responsible, and earlier in the meeting, we sent stuff to the May audit.
That's what I'm saying, like, let's
budget
refer
hearing.
this to finance, if that's okay. And see if finance would be okay with approving this. But I also want to get into a little bit more of a discussion, why does it need to go to a consultant? Why are we spending money on a consultant where you guys can make the decision on where it could be placed and save taxpayer money?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members, Jose Gonzalez, Transportation Director, Interim Parking Director. Commissioner, most of these types of projects begin with a traffic study. The traffic study needs to be signed and sealed by a professional engineer. If the improvements are found to be warranted, then
We
the
don't have one on
project
staff?
proceeds to.
We don't have a professional engineer on staff?
We have one, well, we do, but they're managing several projects, dozens and dozens of projects, not necessarily designing them, but managing dozens of projects.
Are they a salary employee or are they just on staff as a consultant?
No, our employee is a salaried employee.
It's a salaried
they're-
employee.
correct.
So instead of paying $26,000 to put in two steep speed tables, can't we get our in-house specialist to approve 2 locations on 47th Street?
Well, our in-house specialist, who's actually right here, it's our senior transportation engineer, Ghassan. So
Okay.
Ghassan, for example, manages dozens of projects such as these, traffic studies, different designs, because there's a lot of management that goes into the consultants, managing the consultants that do this. The plans have different phases, 30%, 60%, 90%, 100%. That's submitted to the county for
Yeah, but this is
review
such a
and for
small
approval.
little task that could save a lot of lives potentially. I mean, can't we just do this in-house?
But it would still require design drawings. The county requires construction drawings that they review, they permit, and then those drawings have to be developed in CAD. And so,
Well, Ghassan, I mean, do you feel comfortable doing this? Sorry to put you on the spot, but, I'm trying to save, $24,000 of taxpayer money where it could take you, maybe a day or a couple days to just come up with some drawings. It's just speed bumps. I mean, we're not changing
understand.
traffic patterns.
Let me see. First of all, my name is Ghassan Shwedi. I'm actually the senior transportation engineer for City of Miami Beach. I'm actually a professional licensed engineer in the state of Florida and California. So in regards to this situation, what we do have is, this is a collector street considering from the traffic study that we already have established from before by the consultant. And they did not recommend at that time speed cushions or speed humps on that segment between Pine Tree and the Prairie Avenue.
Okay.
So there are certain limitations that we have to follow in order to do this stuff. Now, if I need to do some changes, I need to do some variances, things like that. That's why it's a little bit like the cost that they were providing you is a little bit additional. You think it's too much, but there's a lot of work in order to approve from the county to get this installed.
and Commissioner, one thing we can do is reach out to other consultants. We have a pool of consultants to see if we can get a better, negotiate that down and try to get a better price.
And AutoCAD, I am an AutoCAD person, but I have not used it in a very long time because of managing projects on day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it just seems like, as we move closer to micromobility and speed calming, that maybe this is the department that we want to maybe invest a little bit more in, where we're not, look, I understand consultants serve a need, but, I foresee us having a couple more many more projects down the pipe to address the concerns from the community. So, all right, I don't want to belabor this. I'd like to send it to finance.
So back to the commission?
Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll send this back to the commission, and then number 4.
Okay, item number 4 is highlight the demand of Miami Beach Summer Camp Program and explore the expansion of the Miami Beach Summer Camp Program if needed.
Commissioner Rosa Gonzalez.
I know that we wanted to expand our summer camps. Wait, this is number 4, right?
Yes.
And I know that this was Commissioner Magazine, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was both of us. So should I
Tee it up to John.
toss it over to you?
Yeah, and.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. Where I come from that, being a parent of an elementary age child, you literally have to sit online for some of our camps on the day that the registration opens to be able to secure a spot. And I think that's a testament to the amazing job that you and your team do, John, about how much demand there is there. But it breaks my heart knowing that there's children in our community that want to get in that camp, but also likely need to get in that camp because as a parent, I know some of the logistics constraints of trying to work, being involved in the community, and if you can't get a camp spot, locally at a subsidized rate, it can really constrain a lot of parents' optionality going to work and things like that. So we're having a problem that is a result of our own success. And I know you did some analysis of where some of these possible options would be to expand our summer camp programming.
Thank you, Commissioner. And that is correct. Just this past summer, we had 190 children on the wait list to get into summer camp, which does show the popularity. However, we have another companion item with this, which is at the Finance Committee, which this was dual referred, plus there's the South Shore Community Center item at Finance. And what we did through our analysis is if the decision from the commission is for us to program the Parks and Recreation specifically part of the South Shore Community Center, which right now we're looking at the ground up a section of the ground floor, we could possibly by next summer start up a summer camp spot there for approximately 80 children. So that would be our low-hanging fruits, so to say, if approved to move forward with South Shore. If not, I do not have a definite solution, but we still want to continue to speak to the schools. The schools are challenging because they have to do all their maintenance in the summer. They need a shutdown period. But perhaps in the future, we might be able to get in because we need that whole 10-week period, that 9-10-week period, not just 2 weeks. Maybe in the future we can get into the schools. We took a look at the convention center, logistically, security-wise. Unfortunately, it didn't work because there's so much space there. Just maybe not for the full 10 weeks and security issues. So just to wrap it up, South Shore is our recommendation from staff. However, it's a companion with that Finance Committee item.
Commissioner Rosa Gonzalez.
Yeah, I like the idea of using the South Shore Community Center starting programming for kids there too. I think it'll be a great community builder, especially for the kids that live in that neighborhood. I'm all for it. I know that Commissioner Bott has an item about everybody has an item about the South Shore Community Center, but that would be the upstairs then,
Downstairs. Right now we're looking at the ground floor.
Oh, isn't that where the senior lunchroom is going though?
That's not full-time occupation.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, like use it for both. Okay, I love that. Kids and seniors, cats,
Through
all
the
good.
Through the chair, if I may.
Yes, Commissioner Bond.
So what's being envisioned for the South Shore Community Center is a really robust, almost 24/7 utilization of that space by lots of different moving organizations and uses, and, you know, depending if it's Saturday evening or Tuesday at noon or Friday after school, it might be a different set of people doing different funky things there. So there's a lot of room to accommodate a lot of really different and important and impactful community engagement. So there'll be room for everybody.
Okay, love it. Motion to, what are we doing? Just hearing it at finance, or are we making some
Defer
sort
to
of
the
motion?
sponsor, how we want to say it.
So back to the commission. Yes.
Thank you, John.
Okay, item number 3.
Item number 3 is discuss partnering with the Aiden Perry Hero Life Ring Initiative to install life rings in various locations near waterways across Miami Beach. And this would,
Commissioner Rosa Gonzalez.
This is a great initiative, and I'm just gonna tee it over to John.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
thank you, Commissioner. Yes, I'm not sure if any of you have seen these in person or on the news, but this is the Aiden Perry Hero Life Ring Initiative, and they're popping up throughout at least Miami-Dade and Broward County. This is all about a 17-year-old jumped into a pond to try to save someone from a car accident, and himself lost his life in trying to save another life. And his mom has started, and others have started this initiative, this foundation, where it's like a throw, don't go education. So they're placing these life rings on these posts with a rope, with some small instructions, and if adopted, there will be a community education process. We'll probably work with the fire department, the police department. So the throw don't go is, if something like this does happen, you want to help, you could grab the life ring, secure the end of the rope, and throw the rope in, allowing yourself to stay safely on land. It's a wonderful, wonderful initiative. And we've come up with, you know, if adopted, the first phase, we've identified 14 parks that have bodies of water, because it doesn't need to be a canal. It could be any body of water. It could be a pond at a golf course or in Bayshore Park, et cetera. So we've identified 14 possible locations. There is a cost, but it's minimal. We believe we can absorb that within our existing operating budget.
So this is a win-win. We could save lives by having, you know, a life ring there, and not only that, but it teaches kids about public safety too, and, you know, and how, you know, instead of jumping into the water and trying to save somebody who's drowning, which could be, frankly, dangerous if you're not a lifeguard. So it kind of it makes the kids attuned to life safety issues. So
I heard from resident David Adams on this, and he's with the Coast Guard, and he's gone to the team, and they'll help fund the rings or provide the rings, so I can connect you with him to get more details.
You did already.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh,
I got it to the
wonderful.
manager's office.
So then, with that, I'd move the item to the commission.
Okay, I'll second. Any public comment? Okay.
We're good?
I think this is it. Thank you, colleagues, and the meeting is adjourned, and we have some fresh time until our shade session.
Lovely.
3:30?